that show. I hated that Canadian show, Caillou. Did you ever have to watch that show growing up with your kids, Caillou?
Caillou was
Uh,
pretty good, but we're talking dinosaurs today, so we might as well start off with Barney. That was a good little segue.
yeah,
I th-
Barney was a good show. You grew up with it. Hey, you even got to meet BJ, Baby Bob, and Barney because of me.
I think I would like to say that at some point in this new Jurassic Park movie, it felt like I was watching The Land Before Time, and I think we might get into that a little bit later. But um, let's talk about a dinosaur movie, I guess.
Sure.
Do I feel like it? Well, do you, punk?
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What up, film fans? Happy Tippy Top Tuesday. Welcome to episode 356. Welcome to Jurassic World Rebirth. This is a new episode of the Cine-Men movie podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Juan, and I'm joined by the Park Reserves, Zach.
What's going on, everybody?
Jay.
Hey, how's it going? I'm more of a red shirt guy, you know, the guy that always gets sent out to be killed whenever something bad's about to happen. So I'm that guy.
Not the red shirt guy.
Oh yeah, I'm that guy.
Don't they have another word for those people?
I'm dino fodder. I'm food for the dinosaur.
So you're one of the first ones to go, is what you're saying?
I would not last. I would freak out too early, and I would not make it. No, I would not make Jurassic World or Jurassic Park.
Well, I'm slow, so I'd probably be like the Newman of the bunch.
We'll just push your ass over and like leave you behind. Just like, here, take him.
Yeah. I'd be plenty of food, and I'd be slow. So.
And then while trying to do that, I'll trip my own self up and be food right after you got eaten. So.
And it's also hot, muggy. So
you got all those trees to run through. Damn, you're gonna run into one or two trees.
Yeah.
Not great, guys. I guess the Cine-Men crew would not survive a Jurassic World or Jurassic Park.
Now, zombie apocalypse, probably. Jurassic Park, no.
Probably not either, but if you want to hear about what we could survive, last week we talked all about angels in baseball, so go check out last week's episode.
That we did survive.
We had great numbers. We had great feedback, so it was a wonderful episode. Go check us out in the archives or wherever you listen to podcasts at. All of our links are in the social medias. Facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X is at Cineman405. Or you can email us at CINEMEN921 at gmail.com. Zach, we'll start with you, man. How was the week? Are you I feel like it's only the 8th day of July, and I feel like September is next week.
Oh no, dude, I totally agree, man. It's with everything that's going on family wise, it's a lot going on. I feel like every weekend's been packed. Like, luckily, you know, I got some time to go see the movie. And really recent watch is going to be very, very short. But other than that, it's been a fairly good weekend. What about you guys?
Busy. Yeah. I would like to say I watched a lot of movies, but I'm kind of in the same boat with you. It was a kind of hectic week. So yeah, but we'll get into recent watches here soon. Jay, what about you?
Hectic week. Found out something depressing a couple days ago. So that I'm not going to discuss it here, but it's pretty depressing. It's I'm depressed about it pretty badly. But I did watch quite a few movies, and I'll get into those when we get into our recent movie watches.
So if you guys want to share any recent watches or recommendations, just hit us up on the social media pages like I just got done discussing. And why wait for it? Let's talk some recent watches. Zach, go ahead and go with you.
Went and saw Jurassic World, and then the movie. We'll get into it. Made me really excited about dinosaurs again. So I went home and came home and watched technically the second season of Prehistoric Planet on Apple TV, which is like David Attenborough talk about dinosaurs, which is like one of the greatest things ever. It's insane that the graphics in that is those dinosaurs in that TV show is way better than anything in Dominion, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, Jurassic World, Rebirth, and then check out Prehistoric Planet on Apple TV. So I told you it was going to be short.
Yeah, mine was pretty short too. Went through, checked out Independence Day like I do every year. Jurassic World, Rebirth. Netflix's Untold: The Fall of Brett Favre. That's only an hour and 3 minutes. It's really interesting. I'd go check it out if you're a sports fan. Notting Hill, first time watch, and I finally got to check out A Complete Unknown. So
is Notting Hill the one with Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant about the bookstore? Did you like it?
It was all right. It wasn't too bad.
It was a first time watch earlier this year for me as well. So
Complete Unknown would probably be one of the ones that I'd be like, go check it out. I enjoyed that. And if you're a sports fan, go check out some of the Untolds on Netflix. Jay, what about you?
I've seen quite a bit over the week. I haven't had much to do. I rewatched Thunderbolts, and even rewatching that, it was real good. I enjoyed it again. Lilo and Stitch, I rewatched that. I finally, this is the fourth time it took me to do it, but I finally made it through Sinners, and I'll give that a 3.5.
There you go.
It just came out on Blu-ray today, 4K today, everybody. I did check out F1. It was very good. I enjoyed that. I'd give that about a 3.5. I watched The Amateur with Rami Malek, whatever, however you say his last name. It was a real good movie. It's one of those espionage movies that, could sit there and implode on itself with having too many twists and turns and everything like that. And this one didn't have it. It was just a straight up story. Dude wasn't Rambo. He was just knowledgeable. So I was cool with that movie. I watched Jurassic World, of course, and then I watched Friendship, the new A24 comedy. It was not good at all. And the reason why I say it was one of those cringe comedy type of movies where the comedy was cringe and not funny. And I've sat through the UK version of The Office, and there is a lot of cringe-worthy comedy in that show, and it comes nowhere close to The Office, nowhere close. But the movie that I found surprising and very funny was Head of State with John Cena and Idris Elba, where John Cena plays an old TV actor. He was an action star, kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he becomes president. And Idris Elba is an old army vet, military vet, and he's the British prime minister. And they're on Air Force One together, and it goes down, and they have to survive and all this stuff like that together. And I found it way funnier than Friendship.
Is that an Amazon Prime movie?
I believe so, or an Apple. It's either an Apple or Amazon.
Okay. I've seen the commercials for it. I think it's Amazon Prime, but I could be wrong.
But out of all those, I'd probably recommend Head of State. Sinners was real good. And we're going to talk about Jurassic World today. So, yeah.
That we are. Let's dig into Jurassic World. 5 years post Jurassic World, Dominion and expedition team travels to regions to extract the DNA from a massive prehistoric creatures for groundbreaking medical breakthroughs. You guys can check this out in theaters. If you have not seen it in theaters, pause, go check it out, watch it, read about it, do whatever you want, come back, listen to us. Stars Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey, Rupert Friend, directed by Gareth Edwards. Jurassic World, Rebirth.
Let me start off by saying this. It did not feel like a Gareth Edwards movie at all.
IMDb has it at a 6.3. Rotten Tomatoes is at a 51%. The Metascore is at a 52, while the Letterboxd has it at a 2.8 with the release of July 2nd, 2025. The budget was $180 million. So far, it's grossed a little over $335 million at the box office. A few short words. Zach, we'll start with you. When it was over, what'd you think?
Yeah, so saw it over the weekend and actually saw it again today in the 4DX theater, so I've seen it twice. Overall, it's fun and it's back to basics. It's which for me is a great improvement over the last one.
I would just have my few short words is gonna be like it's better than Dominion. Jay?
I didn't realize it was a Gareth Edwards movie. I really did not. It didn't feel like one. So that's my first thoughts on it.
I feel like these movies probably along with maybe some Marvel movies would be like I don't think it really matters who directs them because it's more of the studio's definitely in charge of this more than you think.
But you get someone like Gareth Edwards that sits there and shoots like when he did Godzilla and everything like that. He shot, his shots were made to look Godzilla look huge and everything imposing. And there was no real shots like that in this movie where I thought, the dinosaurs were imposing or anything like that. I thought this movie was just another generic, bland, better than Dominion, I'll give you that, but it's just another generic, bland dinosaur movie that it was unneeded with the Jurassic Park world title.
So let's talk about that because I believe this is the last movie with the Jurassic World title. Supposedly, the next one is going to start the Jurassic era movies, which is supposed to be 3 of those. And after the money this one made over the weekend, I'm pretty sure that's what they're headed for.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be another one in the next 3 or 4 years. I'm sure.
So,
to me, Jurassic, I've gone on record saying Jurassic Park is one of my favorite film. It goes, you ask me what day it is, it's either going to be Jurassic Park or Creed. I hold that movie very dear to my heart. And so I have a couple questions for you guys as we go through this, but to me, this, like I said, it went back to basics. I think Gareth Edwards understood the assignment like Fede Alvarez did for Alien Romulus. He knew exactly what this film should be. And I mean, I'll disagree with you, Jay. I think this is definitely a Gareth Edwards film. You go back and look at Godzilla, Rogue One, even The Creator, which I wasn't really high on. The scope, size, and scale of the dinosaurs, I think he nailed that perfectly in this. I mean, the long neck dinosaur sequence, the T-Rex raft when the family is going down the river is, it perfectly entitled. He was able to capture maybe not the complete magic of what Spielberg did in the first one, but he was able to get.
So that's the thing. I didn't feel no magic with any of the dinosaur scenes. I felt, yeah, it's just and there's for some reason I thought the 3D or the effects for the movie looked worse in some ways than they did when the original Jurassic Park came out. Like it just looked off. Like you could tell there were certain green screen shots. That might have been the way I watched it because I watched it on a smaller screen, and I guess that stuff kind of is easier to spot than on a big screen. But
I mean, there are no animatronics or like not molecular mechanical dinosaurs like there was in Dominion and in the previous 3. But I thought the visual effects looked a lot. I thought the dinosaurs looked a lot better than the last one. I mean, I'll give them that.
I think it all comes down also to like, how good is the story? Like if I'm having an issue with the story, then I'm going to start nitpicking and having issues with the dinosaurs. I'm going to start having issues with like character base. I'm going to start nitpicking the dang movie. But that's not what happened with me at this one. I was nitpicking Dominion from the get-go. This one, I kind of felt like it was. I went in with just seeing the one trailer.
Yeah, me too.
I knew Zora and Scarlett Johansson's character was going to be, the focal point. I didn't really know a base story about it. I did have a main issue with some of the story arc in the movie, and it was the fact that they're going to this island to get 3 DNA samples, and they hear a mayday, and there's hundreds and millions and billions of dollars on the line, and they go 30 minutes out of their way when they have eyes on the island to go help out a family or to help out somebody that they don't even know.
So that was my big problem with the movie was the inclusion of the family. There's
And
not a single character in that group that's needed, especially the older boyfriend.
now, don't get me wrong. If you didn't have that family, you wouldn't have had my favorite scene in there, because the T-Rex scene was absolutely my favorite scene of the whole movie. You only get to see one raptor, and that again was that again was another kind of shock favorite scene of mine, because I did think the boyfriend was going to get it. I do also like how this one had horror movie like elements to it.
Yeah, and that was on the best of Spielberg. Like, Spielberg had 4 things that he wanted to see in this movie. He said he wanted it to go back to being like not just scary. You know, he wanted the dinosaurs to be scary, not freaking, you know, like they're trained raptors in the first film.
Yeah, they're cuddly little buddies.
No,
Yeah.
other than the little girl's Dolores dinosaur, which that's a, you know, that's an easy way for kids to buy stuff at Walmart. So,
and that was completely unneeded, but I get the reason behind it. It was completely a merchandising thing. But did it add to the story? None whatsoever.
Here, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of reviews that saying that I agree with you guys to a certain extent that the family wasn't needed. I kind of wish that they had just kind of like met up somewhere like in the middle of the movie, like the family does its own thing and Scarlett Johansson and her team does their thing, and that kind of converge by the end of the film. The family did not bother me at all. I just wish the boyfriend had gotten it. That's the only thing I wish. I like the dad. I like the 2 daughters.
The boyfriend was rather annoying.
Yeah. And I feel like you had like 5 different options to kill that character off, but you didn't.
Yeah. So that's my only kind of.
And the fake out ending with did he die? I didn't even buy that for 1 second either.
And that's another thing. Gareth Edwards came out and said that there was 2 versions of the film, one where he lives, one where he dies. And that goes back to what you said, studio kind of control, saying they liked the fact that his character died at the end, but they prefer the happier ending of he lived. Which,
well, let's not also forget, besides Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali was the best part of the movie, acting wise.
Yeah,
and
I
thought
the trio was good. Scarlett Johansson,
that's what I was
and Jonathan Bailey.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like if you are creating a new trio of actors for these movies, I think you need to bring at least 2 of the 3 back. If I were to have one of them die off, it would have been the pharmacist guy, the scientist,
the paleontologist, Jonathan Bailey with the glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have had him die off, because I just thought Mahershala Ali and Scarlett Johansson just had the perfect chemistry.
Yeah.
This is also a nitpick, but I feel like Scarlett Johansson was too.
She's too hot for this.
No. She was just too perfect. Like, she was too badass. She was
too OP, what they say, overpowered.
Yeah, she was like Indiana Jones, Black Widow, all wrapped into one. Nothing phased her. I mean, which is fine, I guess, but
she's playing a mercenary with no feelings.
But I also want some realism into, like a realism into Alan Grant, a realism into Ian Malcolm, something like that. They weren't overpowered. They weren't the best of the best of the best, sir.
I think she's because they when they're on the boat before they get to the island, they kind of have like a monologue scene where she's talking about her past, and she was on a prior job and one of her partner got killed or something like that. I feel like that's fine to build that character up, but they didn't really use it for the finale. Like, if they had killed off Mahershala Ali, I feel like that would have tied in better with her story at the beginning of the movie.
But I look at it like this, though, that they did lose a lot of crew members to them that were very, special to them. And they did show emotion to that,
Yeah.
when they lost those people.
I
Especially
feel like this is the most death we've gotten in a Jurassic Park movie, probably since the second one.
see
Honestly.
the reason why I said they could have done without the family is sit there and say you have the mercenary group, you have Mashallah Ali's character. You could have something. All right, let's sit there and say whenever they got attacked by those the Spinosaurs and everything like that on the boat, that could have been the point where half of them got separated going one way, and the other half had to go another way, and they all knew the rendezvous point was here. And you get rid of the family completely, and you have Scarlett Johansson leading one team, and then you have Mashallah Ali carrying another team, and then you still have the same sequences. You still have the T-Rex sequence because they find a boat and they have to get away. So the family was completely unneeded. They just had to split this group apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I agree with that. I mean,
I also did like
I think it's in a contract for every Jurassic Park movie to have kids in it for some reason.
Yeah. I also did like the family's scene where they got attacked and, the boat got flipped over. I thought that was a very beautifully shot scene.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a different aspect of like a shipwreck was pretty cool.
And that's what I'm saying. I think this is a Gareth Edwards film because that sequence when the boat gets flipped by the Mosasaurus, that thing is huge, and I think it shows in the scope and scale of that.
That scene reminded me of the Kong Godzilla first boat scene, I believe, of the second movie.
The aircraft fight?
Yeah.
In Godzilla versus Kong, yeah.
I gotta say, we didn't even talk about the beginning. The opening scene where you see the kill, and then it just opens up. It doesn't even say the title, I believe. It just shows the logo.
Yeah, the emblem,
I thought that was pretty epic. It felt like you were about to watch something big.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it kind of threw me out of the movie instantly, though, in the first part, whenever one of the first dinosaurs we see, though, is some genetic mutation. And I'm like, oh, we're going here. No, we've talked about this, internet. We've all talked about this. We don't go that way, or the human hybrid.
Okay. So my thing with that, I mean, it's clearly, you can see it on the poster. The D-Rex is what they call it. I like that because when no one ever talks about the idea that you build a genetically molecular dinosaur theme park, there's got to be mistakes somewhere in there. And I think that was a really cool addition to this franchise. The fact that there are, granted, this is the only one that's in the movie, and they make, you see other specimens that they could have used, but I really like the idea that, you're going to play God, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be genetic alterations, there's going to be just mutations. And I think that was a really cool concept that they finally addressed in the franchise.
Because even going back all the way to the first one, don't they explain that they had to use two different DNA?
They have to use frog DNA.
Yeah, two different, but they still use DNA from today's animals to make this all happen. So, like you said, it was just a matter of time.
These aren't real dinosaurs. These are just what we've interpreted to be dinosaurs with what genetics that we've had.
The when I got home to watch the Prehistoric Planet documentary, the long neck dinosaur, they actually talk about that it's a really cool show where, like, it's obviously they put it's real landscapes and they digitally put the dinosaurs in there, and then at the end they have like a paleontologist talk about like the real science behind it. And the long neck dinosaur is in that documentary, so it's like, okay, I just saw the movie, and so it's like this is based on, and that was another one of Spielberg's requirements. It's like, let's try to make this as scientifically accurate as we can with the dinosaurs that probably did exist.
It's not like we are sitting here talking about a dinosaur movie.
Yeah, I mean,
but do you think did they say was the D-Rex like mutated with one of those, because it looks like one of those whales? What kind of whale am I thinking of?
I know what you're talking. That
the one with the bump on his head. I know what the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
This one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's got little sunglasses on there. But yeah,
I just thought he looked mentally handicapped. The dinosaur did. I'm just like,
The beluga whale. That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's a special ed dinosaur. And I'm
but
like,
but to me also technically, I'm like, didn't Luke Skywalker kill this creature at the beginning
I
of
know.
Return of
well,
the Jedi?
I seen an article today that sat there and said that the biggest influence behind the D-Rex was the Rancor from Star Wars. He wanted to make something that kind of looked like that for this movie.
I mean, he did direct Rogue One, so it makes sense.
Well, I also do like, I did feel some, you could really tell that Spielberg did have some just touchiness on this movie. And it felt, I'm not going to say it was like completely back to the original, because it wasn't. It didn't even give me Lost World vibes. But if I had to maybe put them in order, to me, this one was way better than any of the Chris Pratt movies. I am just so glad I didn't have to see a blue freaking raptor with a dinosaur touch whisperer guy and a mutated child. Like, you don't get under watch. I rewatched all of them before I went and saw this one, okay? And the last three were just completely unnecessary. It's like, why?
I still think that there's some value in the first one. The first one,
I'll agree with you there. The first one has its merits. We finally get a park that's open.
Yeah.
We finally, the goal has been achieved. Now what do we do when the goal's been achieved?
And then you play God one more time, and all hell breaks loose. So I still really like the first one. The second and the third one's awful. The second one, after you get off after the volcano explodes, it just goes downhill.
I'll agree with you there. The movie, part two, the Jurassic World 2, Fallen Kingdom, up until they leave the island and the explosion of the volcano, everything that leading up to that's not too bad. Everything after is pretty terrible. One thing I would, with the Minion, they sit there and talk about all these dinosaurs being, roaming the earth finally after all these millions of years, and we learn about locusts the entire time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that movie just, and I think that's what it was.
It made sense to a point. I get the whole prehistoric locusts would damage our crops and everything like that. This biosense creating them so that way they can booster their own cells of their own seeds and everything like that. But I'm like, is this movie about dinosaurs?
And we're talking about bugs.
What are you guys gonna do if, like, in the new Jurassic Park movie after this one, it come to find out Zora is one of those people who is mutated with like a raptor, and that's why she's so like Indiana Jones like and so like Black Widow like? Is she's like half raptor?
I'm good with it. I mean, Scarlett Johansson. I mean, she's been doing press for the movie, and she said that she's been trying to get in this franchise since day one, and she fits really well in the Jurassic Park world franchise.
She does. I'm not gonna lie, she does. She looks, especially if you were to put her like in an actual like Jurassic Park uniform, or if she's one of those like, if she was like in the first one, I could definitely see it. She did good in her part, but
yeah.
See, I didn't have a problem with Scarlett Johansson's character being completely OP, but I did see that she had no emotional range. Like, she was just, there was emotion to her character, but she played it kind of stoic to the point where, she doesn't let it bother her. But I also think what helps her character, and I know this might seem like a stretch, is that we've seen her as Black Widow for all these years. We know she's a badass. Mm-hmm. So we just take that knowledge of knowing what she's done in the past, I think, and we kind of place it on this character as well, knowing she can do it.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd like to see her go back to basics. I think her best movie in the last 10 years was Marriage Story.
Yeah. I wish she would do, I mean, she's done a lot of like Wes Anderson movies in the last couple of years, but I wish she would do like an independent drama like Marriage Story, because I feel like people like you say, Jay, like, oh, she's Black Widow. Like, she's so much more than that, and she can be a very, very good actress.
Speaking of epics, Zach, did you like the Odyssey teaser?
I was really going to do a joke where when you asked me what I thought about the movie, I said, I have no idea. I left after the Odyssey teaser trailer.
Didn't they do that? Didn't they do that with Dominion?
Yeah, I think they showed like the Oppenheimer, like the countdown or whatever. I think
There
they
you
did.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah, man. I wanted to ask you guys something. I think, with the exception of Dominion, I feel like there's value in each of the Jurassic World Park movies, even though Fallen Kingdom kind of sucks after, like we said, after the volcano scene. Do you think that this franchise, it, do you think that this is a proven franchise? And what I mean by that, yes, financially it is, because all the the last three Jurassic Worlds and the original Jurassic Park have crossed $1 billion on the box office.
Dominion made a ton of money.
Yeah. I mean, financially, it is a proven franchise, but like none of these movies after Jurassic, the original, have gotten to that status. Like, I feel like it's in the same camp of like Jaws and The Exorcist, where it's just like the first movie is incredible, but all the other ones kind of suck.
Well, I kind of have this feeling. This is my own personal opinion that the first one, big, epic, monumental movie moment. One of those rare flash in the pan. It's like Batman. '89. It's one of those rare flash in the pan movies that you capture magic in a bottle. And I think in some ways The Lost World does that too, in a weird way, because I grew up in that. When it came out, I was 13 years old, so it hit at a time. But then when Jurassic Park 3 came out, I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the hell out of it too, because it was everywhere.
All it takes is that one movie that kind of like, it's kind of, it's kind of terrible, but it made a lot of money, and then it took so many years in between 3 and Jurassic World that they were like, let's kind of just refresh and everything.
Yeah.
Well, where they jumped the shark in the original trilogy was whenever they had a raptor talk, Alan, wake up. Like, tell me that scene right there didn't sit there and make you go, oh, this is so cringe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's proven right there. If they didn't take a break in between 3 and 4, I think it eventually would have died like the Jaws franchise.
Well, the next step, because I followed the Jurassic series growing up on the internet, and where they wanted to take the next film was human dinosaur crossbreeds. Yeah, they wanted to make soldiers and stuff out of it, and in Jurassic World, that's why we still have that lingering subplot of the military using the dinosaurs, and because it's a leftover story thread from the 4th and 5th one that they wanted to make about human genetic dinosaur split people. You know what I mean?
Oh God, it would have been that would have been awful.
And seriously, that was the next step that they wanted to do.
Well, and I think,
but hey, Jurassic Era could go that way. You never know. You can still get it.
I really do wonder if you can only do so much with this franchise. Obviously, Jurassic Park, it's an island, it's a theme park island that went wrong. They tried to go off the island. Obviously, we've had 1, 2, and 3 went to the island. The first world kind of stayed on the island, and then once you get off the island, it loses its value. It loses its value, and it loses
isolationism helps. Isolationism helps this franchise.
Yes, and that's why this one we go back to an island, because that's like one of the key components, and that's what makes this franchise work.
So let me get this right. In film, this movie is 5 years after Dominion. All the mutated, genetically touched dinosaurs are on this one island.
Mm-hmm.
Another island, evidently.
Yeah. Well, but
it also has
the lab that it was like the original lab for the original park.
Oh, so it's like the Alabama of the United States.
It was Site B. It was basically where the Lost World took place. Is this the same place where it takes place?
Yeah.
No.
So technically, while this movie's taking place and they're on that island, the dinosaurs are still technically roaming in certain spots of the United States and the world, but just in tropical areas, right?
In tropical areas, because it says that
they. Okay. Hold on. Not everybody at once. I can't hear.
Our global warming, which is essentially what the message is killing off the dinosaurs, because they can't. It's not the same type of air that they had during the Mesozoic era. So that's why they're all around the equatorial tropical area.
And then Jay, what were you gonna say?
Basically the same thing.
What?
So,
What?
Because
know.
their air was thicker whenever the air was thicker when they were around.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
it's just the environment's changed. It's not the same world, ironically, that they originally had, essentially. So
Were you guys waiting for Vin Diesel to
oh god, no.
drive the helicopter?
No, we don't need that.
Why not cross over the Fast and the Furious franchise with Jurassic Park? The hell with it. You got cars and dinosaurs. We gotta go, guys, family. And they just like take off driving away from dinosaurs. And it's just 2 hours of them driving away from dinosaurs. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Dwayne Johnson knocks a T-Rex off into the ground.
No, hell no. But by the end of the movie, The Rock will be riding that T-Rex. They'll have like souped up the T-Rex, It's now got like spoilers and shit on it,
I thought this movie...
It's got a Bluetooth speaker in it.
Yeah, exactly. Connecting T-Rex.
Oh, God.
That's funny.
Hell, they've already went to space. They might as well throw dinosaurs in it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
They're bringing Paul Walker back from the dead to do the 11th movie. So,
I don't know. I thought this movie had a lot of cool callbacks. I don't know if you guys noticed in the beginning where they do like the mirror objects are closer than they appear or whatever, and then like they're driving by a school bus and it says Crichton Public Schools, which is a reference to the author. The one of the best ones I thought was when they're in awe of the long necked dinosaurs, and then the original John Williams theme comes up, and seeing it twice, it still gave me goosebumps. And then when pharmaceutical bad guy, typical pharmaceutical bad guy, gets eaten, you see the hand attached to the briefcase, which is a reference to when Samuel L. Jackson dies in the first one. So I thought they used him sparingly and not like like Alien Romulus, we're going to hit you over the head through the whole 2 hours.
If you couldn't choose Duncan or Zora, who was your favorite character in the movie?
I liked Henry. I liked the paleontologist. I thought he fit well in the group. And I liked as much crap as the family's been getting. I think the dad and the youngest daughter, I think if they fit, I think if it was just them, I think it would have been a little bit better.
Yeah, I would go opposite though. I'd say the teenage daughter or the older daughter and the dad.
I agree there. The older, we don't need the goofy Gen X or Gen Z kid, or is he Gen Alpha, whatever the hell he is, whatever generation the generation that comes from sucks.
You know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of the goofy Hispanic dude from the third Transformers movie.
Oh God, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The roommate.
Yeah. The second film. Yeah.
The second movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they go to college, don't get me wrong, the movie is beautifully shot, and some of the it's terrifying in certain aspects, but after seeing this is the 7th one in the bunch, and I like one. I went a couple months ago and went and watched all 6 of them again, and it's there comes to a point where there's not much you could do with the dinosaur that's not scary. And the T-Rex, trying to get the raft and everything. I felt some tension, but I just didn't. I just kept thinking about it in my mind, was that this is a recycled scene from the very first movie. They've been trying to put this scene in a movie since the very first Jurassic Park.
Well, yes, yeah.
And I was just like, they finally did it.
Well, that's a fun fact, is like Spielberg wanted to get that scene in the original, but he couldn't. I can't remember if he couldn't do it narrative. He couldn't figure out how to do it narratively or like visual effects wise. But that scene is directly from the novel, so it's cool that they finally, like you said, Jay, got to do that. So
Are you talking about the T-Rex getting to swim?
Yeah,
No, just the family
that
going
whole
down the raft and being chased by a T-Rex.
Oh, because I thought it was like it looked gorgeous, him getting in the water and seeing him actually swim,
Mhm.
and him using his brain to try to get his mouth in there. And honestly, we could talk about favorite scenes now. Favorite scene of the entire movie for me. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I mean that is probably the best scene of the entire film. But I think the when the long neck dinosaur scene is really shot really well. The scope to scale is, I think, perfectly accurate. We really didn't even talk about the Spinosaurus Mosasaurus scene when they're on the boat. I thought that was really the action in this is anytime there's an action sequence, I think it's really well done. I think it's like, yeah, we're tiny compared to these animals, and so I think that works really well on the Gareth Edwards side of things. Um, and I mean, anytime Scarlet the I know they're not called pterodactyl, but when they're trying to get the sample from the winged dinosaur,
yeah,
when
when they're getting it out of the egg.
yeah, and when Jonathan Bailey's like swinging off the side of the cliff, I thought that the three when they're trying to get the three samples, those are some of the best sequences of the movie, including and then the T-Rex
Yeah,
raft sequence.
yeah.
I thought it was a very ingenious idea on how they retrieved the samples, that it shot off and then parachuted down.
Yeah,
Um,
something I wanted to. Oh, Jay, what is
no,
that your favorite scene?
no, I was going to let you go ahead.
My scenes are the anytime they're getting the samples or the T-Rex raft sequence. So
Anytime that it had to mainly do with a dinosaur, hunting down somebody, I was there for those scenes, but it was the rest of the time that they weren't very very good. The character moments were I was just with them, but favorite scenes, I agree. The core scenes where they go after each sample are all pretty good.
something I wanted to ask you guys before we hit star rating. Why do you think this movie is getting so much hate? I mean, I feel like people are not. I'm like, people are like, well, this sucks. It's like all X, Y. It's like, did you see Dominion? Like, this is not even nowhere
Well,
near.
is it critic hate or is it fan base hate
It's
or
both. I
because
mean, it's like it's sitting at like 51% on Rotten Tomatoes with like a 72% audience score.
well, see,
So
that's not bad, and it's making money. It's almost at $400 million.
My only
yeah,
thing with the movie is that, in the grand scope of things, I never felt any danger towards most of the characters. I knew that most of these characters were going to survive. There was and that's what took me. Took a lot of tension away from the scenes in the movie that were supposed to be tense. Was that I knew that nothing was going to happen to any of these people.
I mean, yeah,
Zach's pointing back at his WrestleMania sign.
yeah. I mean, our three main characters survive. So I mean,
I also did like the scene where after the boat crashes and that short-haired lady gets eaten
Oh yeah, that was a good
because because technically they weren't supposed to be in shallow water, so you're like, how did he end up there anyway?
I noticed it on the second. I barely caught it on the first time watch, but when the Spinosaurus like gets up from the beach and goes into the water, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, she's gonna get it. And
Yeah.
that was a really good death.
That felt, if I had any Matronic, if I could have used any robotic dinosaurs, there would have been two. There would have been one right there where he's just laying like a rock, and that could have been one. And then when the T-Rex was in between the two rocks, you could have put like at least a head right there.
Oh yeah. No, but I think I get really irritated with like reviewers and like audience members that say, "Well, it's not as good as the original." You're not going to recapture that magic that Spielberg did with the first. I just want it to be entertaining. I don't want it to be Dominion. I just want it to be dinosaurs eating people and having fun. And then this is exactly what this is. So I don't really get what the hate's about.
Jay, did you name off favorite scenes?
Yeah.
I'm out of it today.
No, you're good. So, yeah.
Tomorrow, a bonus episode, we're gonna let's go ahead and give it a rating. I'll go first. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think I liked it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I liked some of the deaths. The death toll was up more than I guess the last few. Um, it kind of felt like it was a survival slash shark attack kind of movie. Maybe it didn't need to be. What is it? 215,
212.
212. Maybe it could have been a solid 2 hours. I kind of felt like when they went to the convenience store and when you got introduced to the D, I felt like it was a little slowish at times.
The gas station sequence reminded me so much of Lost World when the
Yeah.
raptors attack.
And maybe that's what it was. I'm like, man, I'm so used to raptors being somewhere involved into the story.
Yeah.
But those creatures were okay too. Like I said, I've only seen it once. I don't know how it would be on the rewatchability, but as of now, it was a fun movie, fun little popcorn summer movie to start us off. Go check it out. I give it a 3. Jay?
I'll give it a 3 as well. I know I talked pretty negatively about the movie, but all in all, it was better than Dominion. And it is just one of those popcorn, turn off your brain flicks and just enjoy it type of movies. But I'm not saying that that as a reviewer, I'm going to let you know what I didn't like about it, and all the rest of it's I'm cool with but I did have a certain problems with the movie, but all in all, I enjoyed it. But yeah, in a lot of ways, it was one of the Jurassic Park movies that I was just basically, when I seen the first trailer, I was like, and after seeing the movie, I'm still kind of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel as special.
No.
I can agree on that.
Like there's something missing from this one.
Before we get to Zach's rating, I do want to ask, the toy of the D-Rex was spotted months ago. Are you guys tired of the marketing scheme that, obviously as moviegoers, even though we're 30, 40 years old, we're going to still walk down the toy aisle sometimes, and that may be our fault. But are you upset? Like, hey, if you stayed away from the trailers, that kind of ruined the movie for you.
I literally went to Walmart like probably a week or two before the movie came out, and they had this big bust of like the Jurassic World toys, and it's like front centered. I was like, dude, I mean, I get it's going to be mutated, but it's like, did you have to show the whole damn thing on the advertisement or?
Well,
but that's with anything though. I've heard a lot of people talk about the toys for the new Superman. They've given a lot of spoilers.
Yeah, especially because on the back of the Superman toys, they have a small bio. And speaking of Superman, that movie right now is sitting at an 87% Rotten Tomatoes after almost 90 reviews.
I'm excited.
They had their world premiere last night, and like I said, it's sitting at an 87%, I believe, after 90 reviews.
And then the Fantastic Four toys, you see there's a Doctor Doom toy, and you take his helmet off, and it's Robert Downey Jr.
Well, we knew it was Robert Downey Jr. Years ago.
Yeah, but we technically didn't know if he was in the movie or not.
Yeah,
well, who's to say he still is? What's to say they just didn't make a toy? Seriously. Yeah. They just didn't make a Doctor Doom toy for you to have for your Fantastic Four lineup.
That's true.
To lead people on, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or what if they made like a Christian Bale Batman and it had the Superman logo on the top of the box? Like here's a Batman just to go with your Superman.
That would have broke the internet.
Zach, finish us off, man. What's your final rating?
Okay, I'll be the highest one of all of us. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I think it has rewatchability. I think it's a fun film. It goes, like I said, it goes back to the basics. You have 3 great performances. You have great action, great dinosaur sequences, and I'm just maybe it's just the high of like, oh God, it's not. It wasn't a disappointment, and that's what I really appreciated the most. I think. If I have to rank them real quick, Jurassic Dominion's the last, Fallen Kingdom is 6, Jurassic Park 3 is 5, The Lost World is 4, the original Jurassic World is 3, Rebirth is number 2. That's how much I enjoyed this, and then number 1's the OG. So I think this movie does a lot. I mean, maybe when it hits Blu-ray, maybe I'll have maybe I'll go down in the rankings a little bit. But right now, it's a 4. It's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. So, and I was worried that it was going to be like, it's fine, but it's more than that, and I appreciated that.
You crazy? No.
Like I said, I could have left after the Odyssey trailer, but I was like, no, let me stick around, see what's going on.
Stick around. Speaking of sticking around and hanging out with us, next Tuesday, July 15th.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's James Gunn.
That's true. It's Superman. We go and check out Superman next Tuesday. We'll have a full conversation about it next week right here on this episode. July 22nd, we go back to Southport. We're talking I Know What You Did Last Summer, Tuesday, July 22nd. And then to finish the month off, July 29th, that Tuesday, we are talking the Fantastic Four First Steps. So it's going to be a fun summer. 2 down, 3 weeks to go, guys. And what we thought was going to be a massive week or massive month.
It's July. The insanity of July continues next week.
Yeah. And I'm excited. We open up August with Happy Gilmore 2. How awesome is that?
You want to take that one, Jay? Or
I'm just gonna be quiet on that one.
Oh man. It'll be fun. I'm kind of hoping, I'm like, if it's terrible, we're gonna have such a good time talking about it. But then if it's kind of okay, I think we'll still have a good time talking about it. So I think this movie is gonna go one of two ways. I think it's either gonna be okay or terrible, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
So it's either gonna be the original or it's gonna be Hoobie Halloween. Either way.
Yeah, either way.
Program note, this will be my last episode, just family health stuff going on, so I'll be missing the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to try and come back for Fantastic Four. So
Fantastic Four. Well, we'll be here, same super time, same super channel. Next week, we discuss Superman on an all-new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Bye.
More powerful than a locomotive.